All right, Cello, let's eat, baby. Gotta go to work. Another hard day at work. I see you got my power juice.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry about what's in this. Yeah, you think I eat a lot? Not at all. Egg whites inside a tortilla, a wrap. Come on, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, all that money you make and I'm waiting for my food? I like looking at bikes. Shaq O'Neal starves to death, waiting for breakfast by chef. Oh, I'm so hungry. I'm the hungriest man on the planet. Oh, I gotta eat paper right now, I'm so hungry. Oh, man. I'm so hungry.
Voilà, breakfast with champions.
Anybody want some of these breakfast tortillas? If you want some, come on down to Shaq House and get you a breakfast tortilla, man. They're so good.
Non-believers, y'all can check these statistics. I enter the dragon like I'm Bruce Lee, and next to the dragon like I'm me, and if I have to, I'll kick Kareem. My DJ George Jesse, I'll rock your mind with that. She gonna blow your mind.
Shaquille O'Neal has always been different. At 11, he was 6'4". In high school, he was as renowned for his breakdancing as for his dunk. But his constant quest to better himself, his curiosity about the world beyond basketball, and his devotion to his family distance him from the typical NBA player.
You're famous, you've got power, you're a multimillionaire. How do you not get vanity? How do you not change?
When superstars have had success, you tend to shy away from people. But he's more of a people person. He's more just relaxed, just like a normal guy.
He is the big comedian. He's a person that loves to have a great time and has a really funny way about his carriage and his being.
For such a big guy, very playful.
He's kind of a Bambi in a lot of ways. Now, the guys in the NBA, if they see this, are going to say, Bambi. Yeah, Bambi, but 400-pound Bambi.
He's the biggest kid I think anybody could ever meet.
Off to the Batcave. Let's go.
He's just never grown up. Having a go-kart in your garage built for a 7'1", 335-pound man, it's out there, but it works for him.
Shaquille's a highly intelligent person. You know, things that he doesn't know, he'll find people that can help him with that. I think a lot of people have a misconception about who Shaquille is.
I would like to be known as the big Aristotle. I want to be known as the big Shakespeare. I wake up the same time every day. Before I take a nap, I take my clothes and I put them on the floor like a suit. I want to know how I'm going to look. I need to throw on the floor. Pants, socks, underwear, suit, and leave it on the floor. And my kids, my wife, they better not touch it. Take a shower, come in, put the clothes on, drive the same way, listen to the same song. My wife calls it superstitions, but it's not superstitions, it's being consistent. I've been doing that for all my years in the NBA.
For all his consistency at home, his professional life has been anything but. On the verge of winning an NBA championship in 1995, Shaquille and the Orlando Magic faltered, losing in dramatic fashion to the Houston Rockets. After moving to the Los Angeles Lakers in 1996, more defeats followed. As the Lakers failed to win, cries of overrated and Shaq can't win soon followed. But Shaq bounced back, winning 3 consecutive NBA championships, silencing his critics for good. The joy of winning, however, was quickly replaced by the ugliness of professional jealousy. And in 2004, Shaquille headed for the beaches of Miami, where he hoped to win another championship.
I try to change everybody's mind and everybody's opinion about me, but I know logically I can't do that.
In spite of his naysayers, Shaquille has accomplished everything he set out to do. He's won NBA championships, most valuable player accolades, and has earned both his bachelor and master's degrees.
You want a career in law enforcement? The city of LA is a great place to start a law enforcement career.
Shaquille's been sworn in as a reserve police officer in both Los Angeles and Miami, and as a reserve deputy U.S. Marshal. Not bad for a kid from Newark, New Jersey, who almost got sucked into a life on the streets.
If I would have went with one of my friends that stabbed another guy, when he went to jail, I would have went to jail. If I would have kicked the guy a little harder that I was bullying, maybe he could have died. So my life was a very iffy life.
Yo, Enrico gets 14 miller to shoot the killer. Arenas filled to capacity to see this thriller. Unfathomably mystic, my style is supernaturally terrific.
I'm like a diesel truck with no brakes. There ain't nothing you can do when I come through. You can put up a roadblock if you want to. I'm going right through. I ain't got no brakes. And I've been on the highway for 10 hours, going straight on the turnpike. It ain't nothing you can do. Only way I can stop is to be destroyed.
I didn't know if they're with you or with somebody else, that's why.
They're with me.
They wanted to see if you guys were bothering me. That's right. That's the brotherhood right there. If you were bothering me, you were going to get arrested for messing with the Shackster. Wait for one more guy.
Jack, what's up, baby boy?
It wasn't me. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, sir?
What's going on, brother?
I've been waiting to see you since you moved out here, man.
You doing all right?
Yeah.
I'll be over there. I'll be over there in a couple of weeks. I'm almost done with training.
Okay.
So I'll be over there in a couple
Okay, I'll be looking for you, man. Bless you, man. Nice to see you, Shaq.
All right, man. You be safe out there.
Okay, you too, man. All right.
Newark, New Jersey was still smoldering from the race riots of the late 1960s when 18-year-old Lucille O'Neal gave birth to her first child, Shaquille Rashawn O'Neal, on March 6, 1972. His name is Arabic for Little Warrior, something Lucille knew her son would have to be to survive the streets of Newark.
This is one of the worst places in America to bring up a child. They're living paycheck to paycheck.
Me and my mother started out by ourselves, moving from house to house. She did whatever it took to keep clothes on my back, to keep me fed.
Shaquille's father abandoned the family, so Lucille worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. But there was no shortage of love for young Shaquille.
You had a lot of family support. My mom could easily make a call and say, hey, I gotta go to work today. My second job, can you watch Shaquille for me? And all the relatives would say, yeah.
His grandmother, Odessa, and his mother, Lucille, they were the strong maternal figures in his life that he needed to get past his dad leaving, to give him something to hope for and to teach him manners and to do all the things that you're supposed to know as kids.
But love and support would only go so far on the streets of Newark. Shaquille needed someone to teach him the self-discipline that would keep him out of trouble.
When his biological father, Joe Tony, left the family, that's a huge hole to fill in your life. And it wasn't until Phil Harrison came along that that hole was filled.
Lucille fell in love with Phil while working at Newark City Hall, and the two soon married. To support his new family, Phil enlisted in the Army. He would become the only father Shaquille would ever know.
Did Shaquille give you any trouble growing up?
Yes, he did.
How'd you handle it?
Talk to him.
Here you go.
I talked to him. They ain't talk to you?
Yeah.
Maybe a little louder, but you know, I talked to him.
Phil Harrison once told me, I made sure Shaquille got beatings from me because I didn't want him to be beat up by anybody else. In his own militaristic, old school way, that was tough love for bringing up Shaq.
But Phil also taught Shaquille by example.
I call it the Karate Kid life, because I did a lot of things that I thought at the time didn't make sense. For example, one day my father said, let's go get something to eat. So we went to White Castle. So he got 6 double cheeseburgers, I got 6 double cheeseburgers, and we're in the car, we're laughing. I eat 2, he eat 2, and we got some left over. And we stop at a light, and there's a guy there with a sign that says, veteran, will work for food or whatever. So my dad's reaching the cheeseburgers, the fries, and he give them to him. My father had like $2 or $3 left in his pocket. He gives the guy money and says, no drugs. He always told me to, help those in need. And, just be nice and just be respectful to people.
Hello, ladies. How you doing? My name is Tony. Nice to meet you. How you doing, Tony? I'm good.
How you doing, Tony?
I'm good. I'm taking it in. I see.
I've always been a class clown. Everyone has always liked me. I've always liked everyone else.
You know what I want, homie? I want my pasta always good. Yeah, the small. I make it small. Pasta and chicken.
For drink? Coke? Water.
What kind of bottle of water do you got?
Flat, sparkling?
It's flat.
Flat.
You don't say flat water, sparkling? No, I said water.
Water or carbonated water?
Shut the hell up. It's water or just...
It's water? No,
it's not. It's water or non-sparkling water. Yeah, water, non-sparkling.
How's it non-sparkling?
Non-sparkling. Non-sparkling, man. Ain't got no sparkles in it.
Yeah. What's carbonated then? What's the carbonated water?
Listen, black people don't say carbonated. Excuse me, my brother. Can I get some carb? We don't say that, man. We say non-sparkling. Yeah, non-sparkling.
My life was a very iffy life. From like 5 to 14, it was very, very hard. You know, juvenile delinquent, low-level juvenile delinquent. You know, used to go steal candy bars and, you know, just used to do juvenile delinquent stuff.
They graduated from stealing sunglasses and being bullies at school to wanting to hotwire a car and drive it away.
If I would have went with one of my friends that stole a car, I'd be in jail.
Something in his head kicked in and said, no, I could go to jail for this. I don't want to know what my father would have done to me if he found that out.
Phil's lessons were starting to take hold. When Shaquille was a kid, Phil took him on a short trip across the Hudson River to New York City's Madison Square Garden. It was there, in the cheap seats, that Shaquille first glimpsed his childhood hero, Julius Erving.
Shaq's sitting up there as a young kid with his dad. The garden's going nuts, and Dr. J is on the court. I don't think anybody can put a measurement on how important that was.
I want to be like Dr. J. I want to be a professional basketball player. But now at 14, that's when the school system starts saying, okay, no pass, no play. So now I got to start acting right. 1, because it's right, and 2, because I can play basketball.
Armed with Lucille's love, Phil's life lessons, and a dream of being in the pros, Shaquille was ready for another course of study. But this time, the lessons would begin 4,000 miles away from the streets of Newark.
Game's finesse is full of pain and stress. I train to press and leave a pain in your chest. You came to test my team, it's dangerous. You playing the best.
Let me tell you what he did one year. We got my birthday, and like he came home, and I think somebody said like, it's Sean's birthday today. So then he goes upstairs, gets a tennis shoe box, goes in his safe and takes. No, it was not no $20,000. No. Then he crumpled it like to make it all fluffy to look like it was a whole lot. It was 5s, 20s, 1s.
You know the 10 grand.
It was not 10 grand.
10 grand.
It was not. No, it wasn't, honey.
Miracle order bills.
I do not complain, but that's just how he was like, he thinks that's a quick fix. Like, let me go get some money. Everybody loves that.
It wasn't until Shaquille O'Neal was a teenager that basketball became a positive influence in his life, and it happened in the most unlikely of places, Field Flecken, Germany, where his father, Phil Harrison, was stationed.
He took us to places that were very boring, so boring that the only thing I could focus on was basketball. We lived in Germany for 4 years. We lived on a little army base, about 200 to 300 families. Didn't have really many friends.
Living on that base, Phil Harrison decided he wanted his son to have more choices in life than he had.
One thing my father told me, your ass ain't gonna be in the army. I'm telling you that right now. I don't have an education, but you know what? You going to school.
But Shaquille believed college was beyond his reach, and the Army would be his only option.
He couldn't dunk basketball, and now he's topping 6'8" or something. And so, yeah, there's a part of him that's thinking, I'm just gonna be this big, goofy guy, you know? Jerry Lewis in clown shoes.
Even if I did want to go to college, we weren't gonna be able to pay for it. At this point, I'm gonna be in the Army like my father.
That would all change when a legendary college basketball coach paid a visit to the base.
U.S. Army asked me to go and speak to the troops. Finish my lecture, I get a tap on the back, and I turn around. Here's a guy, I'd say approximately 6'8", 250, very polite, dressed neatly.
I said, listen, man, I'm 6'9". I really can't dunk, I really can't play.
I said, how long you been in service, soldier? Big old smile. He said, I'm not in service. I said, you're not? Coach Brown, he says, I'm only 13 years old.
What? So he grabbed my arm. Said, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I'm 13. Where's your father?
And I said, you know, we'd certainly like to stay in touch with your son if he ever develops. Can I say something? He goes, you know, this is all fine and good. But he said, you know what? I think it's time blacks go another direction and develop intellectualism so they can be presidents of corporations instead of janitors. They can be generals in an army instead of a sergeant, and they can be head coaches instead of assistants. If you're interested in my son's intellect, we might talk someday.
No one from Shaquille's family had ever graduated from college, but Coach Brown's words had opened the door to a future that Shaquille could finally believe in.
You have to understand that being that I'm Shaquille O'Neal, I have many personalities. And I think that's why I get along with people. I could walk up to certain people and say, "Shalom, my brother."
What's up, baby?
I could walk to another person and say, "Assalamu alaikum, my brother."
How you doing? You all right?
I could walk up to another, "What up, dog?"
Nice to see you.
I could walk up to him, "How you doing, sir? Everything all right, man?"
What's your name?
I can relate to people because, you know, just how I grew up and, you know, everything that I've been through.
Your biggest fan, please.
Hello? What's going on? You all right? No, we're sitting over there in the same section. Hold on.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
In the spring of 1987, when Shaquille was 15, the Army transferred Phil Harrison to San Antonio, Texas. At Cole High School, Shaquille made a big impression on his first day.
I was tardy for class, and I got sent to the principal's office. And Shaquille was standing there with his father, checking in as a new student. And that was my first introduction of him. Man, that guy's big.
Word immediately spread to the athletic department.
Head football coach came in one day and said, "Madera said, we finally got a center." He said, "I thought I sent for a football player, though, and they sent me a basketball player." And he said, "He's big."
Even though he was almost 6 feet 11 inches tall, Shaquille still had a lot to prove.
The upperclassmen would give him a hard time on the court about not being able to dunk, being uncoordinated. And if anything, I saw the fire in his eyes.
I knew Shaquille was going to be a good player. He could run like a deer, he could jump.
Shaquille responded to Dave Madura's no-nonsense coaching style, and it wasn't long before he earned his place on the team.
Tried not to treat him any different than the rest of them. He was good when he was a junior, but he really matured between his junior and senior year.
As the basketball player in Shaquille emerged, so did his independent streak and his sense of humor.
His first nickname he had in high school, Shaquille the Deal. As the school year would go on, he would just add to it. Shaquille the Deal for real. Next week, Shaquille the Deal for real. I don't eat malto meal. And he would just continue. I mean, the name was 3 pages long.
He wasn't just a class clown or anything. I taught him in geometry. You know, he's a real intelligent person, too.
Dummies, they don't go nowhere. And if you're smart and go to college, you can make it to the pros.
Shaquille led Cole to a state championship in his senior year, and suddenly the offers came pouring in. But Shaquille would not forget the coach who first inspired him.
There's certain people that I listen to and respect. All the other college coaches, "We'll give you this, we'll give you that, blah, 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 la, 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 la." Dale Brown said, "Hey, we got Chris, we got Stan. You might play, you might not play." I was like, "Might not play?" That was a challenge. I said, "You know what? I like this guy."
Shaquille accepted that challenge, though it would be something entirely different that would threaten his college basketball career.
It's your choice of getting knocked, popped, the lock, Shaq's the baddest. I represent the East Coast, I ain't no stranger when the Shaq is in the house. Oh my God, danger!
Freshman year at Louisiana State in 1989 was Shaquille O'Neal's first taste of independence.
College was the best 3 years of my life. You get to deal with people. It's my chance of being a young adult, learning things on my own, doing things on my own, being responsible.
With veteran players ahead of him, Shaquille wasn't an immediate pick for the starting lineup.
When I got to the campus, I faced something that was known as the reality factor. Because in San Antonio, I was all world. But when you go to college, everybody on your team was like that. So I had to go back down to being just a normal guy.
Shaq, you've got to help us. You cannot let men continue to just come. You're a much better athlete than this.
By sophomore year, Shaquille had become such a prodigious talent that by the end of the season, rumors were already circulating that he'd leave college early to pursue the riches of the NBA.
When I went to college, I promised my parents that I would graduate. So I heard Dick Vitale say, "Shaquille O'Neal's so good, if he goes now, he'll be first pick." So I just called my dad when I'm just playing with him. Like, "What you think about me going pro?" Click. So I was like, okay, that's not good. And then I said to myself, you know what, I'm only 18. I'm not really ready.
With the NBA on hold, Shaquille went back to the books and continued to study for his degree.
I actually went to class. And if we didn't go to class, Dale Brown would wake you up at 6:30 himself, and you would have to run 3 miles. If you missed 2 classes, you had to do that twice.
But even Coach Brown's stiffest penalties were nothing compared to the punishment Shaquille was suffering on the court.
Shaquille O'Neal is a physical phenom. Coaches, other teams need to do something to tip the scales in their favor, anything. And the only logical thing that comes to their mind is physically fouling, harming the guy. Teams went after him in a way that was illegal.
The tactic was so common, it even had its own name, Hack-a-Shack.
I called the head of the SEC officials and told them, you know, if they don't clean this up, I'm worried he's going to get hurt badly. Or he's going to lose his temper and turn around and someone's head's going to be in orbit.
It had become so unpleasant for Shaquille that he finally decided to leave LSU before getting his degree.
I called my dad and said, listen, man, I got to go. And, you know, that these kids that beat me up. He said, you know what, I saw that, but you got to promise me that you go back and get it. So I said, okay. I drove home slow as hell. I didn't want nothing to happen to me.
I, Shaquille O'Neal, after careful deliberation, have decided to forego my senior year of eligibility at LSU. I'm not making this decision out of anger or frustration. I feel that in my heart it's time for a change and it's time for me to move on.
The 7'1" little warrior from Newark, New Jersey, who couldn't dunk a basketball until he was in high school, was now headed to the NBA as basketball's newest superstar.
What's this for, homework? If I don't get it right, I got to pay you $5. Right. All right, well, you got to say that, player. Listen, go back out there, come back and say, listen, if you get it right, I'll give you $5. If you don't get it right, you give me $5.
Okay.
And I got to come back in.
Yes, I'm here right. I'll give you $5. If you guess it wrong, you have to give me $5.
All right, deal. 212? Well, I owe you $5. 90? Oh, you got change money?
92. Well, you got me for the 20.
I'm first or you first? You go first.
I think you're using the wrong equation, dude.
57.
No.
56. 56. You
Yeah,
can't.
56.
You cannot. No, you're telling me I don't know. Man, you can't take a double bet. Yeah, that's it. No. No, let's go. That was set up. I know it was set up. You said 57, and you couldn't even count it exactly to the exact. I see 4 on the bottom. I see 12 rolls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I just said, you know what, plus another 4, I'm going to go ahead and throw another 4. You said it was wrong, but you didn't even allow me to get my bet in. You knew what it was.
The Orlando Magic selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
Shaquille O'Neal arrived in the NBA in 1992, a 20-year-old with a contract worth $41 million over 7 years, the largest ever for an NBA rookie. Orlando welcomed their new big man with open arms.
That was like the president was in town, man. And I was thinking, how can one team be so excited over one player? You know, not even a team, a city.
Now you've got the most fun-loving, playful, big man in the NBA under your roof. And all of a sudden, this franchise just takes off. And people are talking about Shaq.
Everybody know my name. I'm young and excited, but now I got to prove myself. Coming in as a young ninja, I had to go through Rick Schmitz, Hakeem Olajuwon, Sabonis, Ewing. I had to kill all those centers to become the Shogun that I am now. That's why I always say I am Shogun, loved by no one.
You know him simply as the Shaq from the Orlando Magic, Shaquille O'Neal.
By the end of his first season, Shaquille was an all-star and Rookie of the Year. The following season, the excitement in Orlando continued with the arrival of newcomer Penny Hardaway. Shaquille and Penny became the most entertaining and electrifying duo in the NBA.
This was literally the Disney-fied NBA. And you thought to yourself as you watched them running down the court and throwing alley-oops to each other that this was going to be around for a while.
Shaq, I'm the guy who gets you bagels every morning, man. Bagels, pancakes, fruit. I'm the guy. This is my bagel guy.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Bob, my man. Hey, would you know where a used bike store is around here? How much?
Yeah, how much?
Right now. We write you a check right now.
Check?
Yeah, right now. You got, yeah.
I don't come inside from here.
Okay, listen. We're going to go get it today. All right, go get the title.
All right.
And I'm going to call you.
Okay.
And we meet on South Beach.
Okay.
All right, 5,000.
5,000. Yes, sir.
Muchas gracias. How many miles you got on there?
Hey, I need a...
When you get the bike. When we get the bike today.
Okay.
And we look for a bike, we got a bike.
For the first time in his life, multi-millionaire Shaquille finally had enough money to do exactly what he wanted.
You just wanted to experience it all. It was a novelty. It's a whole nother world. It really is. It's a dream world.
As a youngster, I always used to tell my mother, Mama, when I get like Dr. J and I get some money, I'm gonna buy you a house. So I called my mom and said, I got a surprise for you, come down. So when they came down, I gave them the keys to their house.
Big Shaq drop shoes like quick. Got a little more G's than one, yet I'm slick like Rick.
Shaquille started to broaden his experiences beyond basketball. In 1993, he recorded the first of 5 rap albums, which surprised everyone when it went platinum.
Watch how the clean get gritty.
Later that year, he tried his hand at acting.
In 5,000 years, you're the only friend I've ever had. I did those things because I could, because I had the opportunity to. It wasn't that I needed to.
I am Kazam.
I was just a young guy having fun.
I'm your genie.
See, I was the type, if I always had something to say, I'd say it. If you're gonna talk about it, give them something to talk about.
I wear this hot fur thing and it's not even that cold outside.
What's that, a midget fur?
You are not supposed to say midget.
Why not?
I don't think that's the word you're supposed to use.
Well, what's the word? Nobody had a press
Small people.
Well, nobody had a press conference and told me that you don't call them midgets no more.
Can you just stop saying midget
I didn't
right
know
now?
that you don't call them midgets. So if I don't call a midget, what do I say
So
when I see a
small, they're
midget?
small people.
So small people is a new word for midget? It don't even sound right. Is that a midget? Midget. What's the difference between a midget and a dwarf?
Oh yeah, dwarf. I don't know.
So you call dwarf smaller people?
Success on the court continued for Shaquille. In 1995, the Magic won the Atlantic Division for the first time in its history, and the team rode that momentum all the way to the NBA Finals. At 23, Shaquille seemed on the verge of having it all.
It's cash rapping basketball. After all, I'm after y'all. Smack you all, catch you as you fall. I fumigate that ass like fume some gas, a blast from pass.
Listen, my track spit. No, hold on, time out. If you put a bullshit rap on my track, it's gonna be horrible. But if you put a motherfucking ludicrous on my track gonna speak for itself.
Yeah, he called me on that last one.
All I want is $2 grand and my name, DJ 2000 produced by. That's all I want. You ain't got to put me in the video. You ain't got to give me no royalty. You know what I'm saying? I just want them to say, yeah, who did that track? Yeah, I got my, I got the Pro 2 set, the little turntable.
Your drums is the strongest part. That's like that one beat that you played over there that was crazy. That's because the drums was moving so much.
I knew I should have paid attention in music class. I played 12 beats, you like 2 of them? All right, that's a good start for a non-producer. You better hire me, Timberland.
The Orlando Magic strutted into the 1995 NBA Finals, cocky and dismissive of the aging Houston Rockets. But in 4 games, the Rockets swept the Magic, teaching them a lesson in what it meant to be a champion.
I was so hurt that I said to myself, if I ever go to the finals again, I'm gonna make sure by myself that we don't lose.
The next year, the Magic failed to advance past the semifinals. To make matters worse, many blame the team's loss on Shaquille's extracurricular activities.
The worst thing you could tell Shaquille O'Neal early on in his career is that he didn't care enough about the game.
Things then went from bad to worse. After teammate Penny Hardaway negotiated a new $70 million contract, Shaquille's request for more than $100 million outraged many of his fans in Orlando.
I'm not gonna come in and say, hey, give me 100, so you can say nah and bring it down to 80. That's just business, it ain't nothing personal.
But when Shaquille's beloved grandmother, Odessa, passed away, it became personal.
When she died and he went to the funeral and the team made a big deal of him not coming back in time, was thinking about suspending him, he took that very personally. Like somehow they didn't get the difference between basketball and life.
I became a big fish in a small pond. And everything I would do would get scrutinized, and everybody was watching me. I just didn't feel comfortable.
But if Shaquille was too big for Orlando, where else could he go? There was only one other city big enough.
Boy, that town just took to that in a way that you can't even put in words. This was a town where you go to a Laker game, there'd be Denzel Washington, and people would be more interested in meeting Denzel Washington than they would Shaq.
If I go to LA, I'm just a big fish with a lot of other big fish in the ocean. I can do what I want to do. I think it was a good fit for me.
With Hollywood in his backyard, Shaquille could pursue his off-court activities, recording albums and appearing in movies.
A presidential Rolex ain't fly enough, and Continental Airlines ain't high enough. My Testarossa 96, you'll be riding tough. I hit you up, but I don't think your pocket's wide enough. I'm smooth, slime, but tough. I don't play. Walk with that rah-rah stuff, or you can...
LA offered fame and fortune, but Shaquille was still missing what he came for.
The championship. Because I got 10 fingers and no rings.
In his first season with the Lakers, Shaquille, joined by 18-year-old rookie sensation Kobe Bryant, led the team back into contention. But in the playoffs, it was a nightmare all too familiar to Shaquille.
I knew I was putting up legendary numbers, and every year we'd get swept, and I'd be looking, I'd be seeing these bums hold up the damn championship ball like, damn, I know I'm better than him.
Knowing something had to change, Shaquille sought out someone who could challenge him, like Phil Harrison or Dale Brown had in the past.
He has to look up to the person in charge of his career. It has to be a strong man, it has to be a hard man, it has to be a no-nonsense guy. Phil Jackson became that guy.
Phil Jackson, the legendary coach who led Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls to 6 NBA championships, was living in semi-retirement in Montana.
The summer before I took the job here in LA, I invited him to come to my place in Montana. So when I sat down to him, he said, well, I saw the NBA trophies, the bling-blings in your house, which was a new word to me at the time in 1999. But I understood completely what he was talking about. Those trophies were what he was after.
Phil Jackson has this different approach to the game. Yeah, there's this drill sergeant part of him, but there's also this cerebral side where he does meditations. He puts out ancient Indian artifacts. He gives players books.
And what book do you give a 7'1", 335-pound center?
Well, I picked Nietzsche's book, Ecce Homo, knowing that Shaq would read what was given to him. And he really took to those books. He gave me a book report, in fact.
Nietzsche was a guy that was so intelligent and so far ahead of people that they thought he was crazy. They thought he was insane. And that's how people look at me.
Shaq kind of buys into it. He just comes up with this idea that he is larger than life and he can see his potential.
When Phil spoke, you listened because you knew he knew what the hell he was talking about. He said, I just need you to focus on basketball. I don't mind if you do your little police work, but no movies, no rap album. And the day I met Phil and just started focusing on basketball was the day I started winning.
With Jackson at the helm and young Nietzsche in the post, the Lakers won 25 of their first 30 games. Jackson helped Shaquille and Kobe Bryant find a chemistry that 2 previous coaches had been unable to bring out.
They were totally in tune with how to play basketball together.
Kobe, Shaq on the court. I don't think anyone can touch them two. I think they might be the best tandem, the best Batman and Robin of all time. They got my vote.
Shaquille led the league in scoring, and the Lakers finished the 1999-2000 season with the best record in the NBA. This time in the playoffs, Shaquille would not be denied. In the final game against the Indiana Pacers, he scored 41 points. Shaquille O'Neal had silenced the voices of doubt. On his face, 7 years of frustration were finally there for all to see.
See, when people see my reaction, they saw me cry. But it was words in those tears, and those words like, you mother, yeah, put me up there when you talk about Magic, and I want to be mentioned with those guys now. I don't say but. And that's what that cry was about.
Your crew, you walking coded, how your rhymes are gold plated, and mine's are diamond coated. When I lace up, be cock back, you better react to Shaq like clear the room. If not, chick, chick, boom.
I would like to be known as the big Aristotle. Because it was Aristotle who said, excellence is not a singular act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do.
When I'm done playing, I want 6 or 7 championships. I wanted him to say Shaquille O'Neal was the baddest big mother ever.
Shaquille wasted no time backing up those words, leading the Lakers to 2 more NBA championships in 2001 and 2002.
Then when I got the second one, I was like, damn. So then when I got the third one, I was like, woohoo.
You can dream about hitting the buzzer, you know, while you're playing in the playground, and you could dream about being an NBA player, but you don't dream to have that type of success. I'm gonna have, 3 rings.
The championship rings started to slide on easily, and Shaquille began to round out the parts of his life that would sustain him after basketball.
This is the day I shall always remember. The day I fulfilled that promise I made to my parents, I made to myself. LSU now stands for Love Shack University.
Can you believe if you walked around today with millions of dollars, had everything you want in life, to go back to school?
In the off-season, he pursued his other passion, law enforcement. He became a reserve officer with the LA Port Police and a reserve deputy U.S. Marshal.
I can't play basketball forever, and I want to be sheriff. I think I could help in the community. I don't think I could change or make it perfect, but I think I could help.
In late 2002, he married Shawnee Nelson. The nomadic Army kid was finally putting down roots.
I forgot about the anniversary.
But
that's why, let me tell you a secret. That's why I put it the day after Christmas so I wouldn't forget. Yeah, damn. That's mine. The king.
Because you are the king of the house.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm the king of house. I'm the king of LA. That's mine. Look at that. What your mommy bought me?
And look at the back.
Mommy, who is this?
What's that say?
That's Shaquille.
Oh, that's my name.
Oh, we have matching, and you don't like to match me. That's so cute. We're never gonna wear it at the same time.
Y'all want to hear the white version or the black version?
Black version.
Ready? The black version. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the crib, we just got through eating chicken and ribs. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care. They think you playing against Kobe, but we don't care. Dig. Say Merry Christmas, dude, for the O'Neal family.
Merry Christmas, dude, for the O'Neal family.
Say we love you, dude.
We love you, dude.
Peace.
Peace.
The role of a father is the protector and the provider, and also the teacher. With me, with my kids, I don't really care if they play basketball. You don't have to be a better basketball player, but you gotta be a better person. My kids are so funny. They just run around the house and do stuff that I know if I did, I'd have got killed for. But I don't really be that hard on them. When they get to be a teenager, they don't even have to call me dad no more. Shaq, I need $20. Where you at, man? I'm at the store. I got a date with this girl. All right, come on to the sheriff's office. Show me your ID. Come on up. I'll give you $20. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be that type of dad.
While Shaquille's family life became more complete, on the court, the Lakers were heading for divorce. Shaquille and Kobe were dominating the NBA, but within the team, they had become rivals, vying for the soul of the Lakers.
Shaq kind of overran the relationship to start with by saying he'd be Kobe's big brother and Kobe be his little brother. Well, you know, Kobe doesn't have any brothers. He doesn't want any brothers.
See, some guys, especially these young guys, they want it to be all about them. My thing was all about basketball. You come in and you play good, smart, good team basketball.
Their quarrel eventually played out in the press, and it became clear that Los Angeles was not big enough for the both of them.
I'm from the old school system, and it has to be done the right way. When it was done the right way, we won it 3 in a row. So my thing was, okay, you guys want to change drivers of the ship? Get me off the ship. 'Cause when this thing starts sinking, I don't want to be on it.
After 8 years, Shaquille O'Neal left Los Angeles behind, and in 2004 returned to Florida to join the Miami Heat. He was welcomed home like an old war hero.
Of course I'm old, but this is another classic Shaquille O'Neal quote. I'm like toilet paper, toothpaste, and certain amenities. I'm proven to be good and useful. The difference between the Shaquille O'Neal that started out in Florida and Shaquille O'Neal's in Florida now is I'm much more mature. A lot of people always ask me, do I miss LA? I kind of miss the city and all the nice, friendly people, but I don't miss the powers. It's okay, everything happened for a reason. Because remember my house, I had a dirt mountain view. Now look at my view. Water symbolizes peace, baby. That's why every time people see me, I'll be like, I'm all about peace.
1 year earlier, the Miami Heat had finished last in their division. Now they had a roster of young talent in need of a leader. In his 13th season in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal would at last take on the role of teacher. For his star pupil, he chose the young and talented Dwayne Wade.
Being the smart guy that I am, I saw something in Dwayne Wade. I know that I could take him to the next level. You got to realize that a young Shaq and a young Penny probably clash. A medium Shaq and a young Kobe probably clash. But an older Shaq and a younger Dwayne probably never clash. He's my third and final pupil. I won't make the mistakes that I made with my first two pupils. Remember, I am Shogun, loved by no one.
Shaquille O'Neal may already have earned his place as one of the greatest basketball players ever, but when that career comes to a close, he'll surely have his next move already planned out.
I realize that when I'm done playing NBA basketball, I'm gonna have to go back to the reality world, to the 9-to-5 world, and I'm prepared for that.
He's going to be known as one of the greatest centers that have been in this game, but also the one that was the most magnanimous, the funniest, the one that loves the spotlight and loves kids and fit the role perfectly as an NBA player.
He's a poster child for people playing together and then maintain and be professional about it and still be a regular and a good person.
He never forgot where he came from. His legacy, if I was to think about it, he's a true gentleman.
I'm not done evolving as a human, and I'm still that same 13-year-old. Mentally, I'm still a young juvenile delinquent. Spiritually, I'm still a young juvenile delinquent. But I've always been a thinker, and I've always been a dreamer. And everything that I said I wanted to do as a youngster, I've done it. You know what? I want to fly on my own plane. You know what? I want to have a house on the ocean. You know what? I want to marry a beautiful girl and have 5, 6 babies. And it all happens.
As big as he is, Shaquille O'Neal keeps finding new ways to grow. And through it all, he remains himself. Always a work in progress, but always Shaq.